If you're like me, you're not really a huge fan of chorus guitar tones, but we can still get some really interesting and excellent sounding modulation effects with our guitar, especially when utilizing the Fractal ecosystem here. I'm going to show you 4 of my favorite chorus alternatives. Hey friend, my name is Matthew Dale. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And we're going to dive back into the Fractal ecosystem and take a look at my favorite chorus substitutes. Let's first take a look at what amplifier I got going on. I'm using the Jazz 120, the Roland JC 120 model, since we are taking a look at chorus. This is kind of the OG chorus machine. I've got it going through a pair of Dynacabs, the 2x12 double verb cabs, with a little bit of some post compression on there, and a little bit of concert hall reverb, and it sounds like this. Really lovely clean amplifier. Don't sleep on this amp, even though it's not like a tube amp, something that you would want to call up probably in the amp block. It's really lovely for obviously this sort of thing, and it sounds great with chorus type guitar effects. This preset will also be available up on my Patreon for free. You can find the link to that in the description box below. Now, before we dive into the subs, I've actually got a trick that I want to show you. It's not really a trick, but it's just something to be aware of when we talk about chorus. When I was like using pedal chorus, I never really liked it. I mean, I liked it for like a month, and then I'm like, now this is kind of old. And that's because those are mono choruses. If you're using a chorus and just going to one amp, it sounds kind of like this. When it could sound like this. It's just stock settings, and I'm going over to the stereo. So that just automatically sounds much better to my ears. Stereo chorus really sells it for me. I'm just going to play this B flat major 9 chord, and you can hear the difference again. Make sure you're also listening in a stereo environment. Otherwise, these will basically sound the same. You can kind of hear that on the stereo model, it sounds much fuller, not just wider, but the guitar tone sounds fuller because we don't have this pseudo phasing that's happening in a mono chorus environment. So that's kind of hidden option number 5. Try stereo and play in a stereo environment. At some point, I'm going to be doing a mono versus stereo guitar tones video, so just be on the lookout for that. And let's talk about some of my favorite substitutes for this sort of tone. Let's go ahead and start with kind of the original chorus, which is a rotary speaker, a Leslie speaker cabinet, something where you have a horn on top that's spinning around and a drum on bottom that's spinning around. And when you would change the rates on it, they would update their speeds at different times because they're different masses and yada, yada, yada. Rotary can be a great subtle modulation effect. So this is just at stock settings right now. If I just dial this back to like 1 cycle per second. And sometimes if you hear this on a record, you might even think, oh, there's a chorus on that guitar tone, but sometimes it's rotary. Something that is really fun to do on this is I am going to pop a control switch on our rate, and I'm just going to update this with a momentary switch. So let's go from here to about here or so, and that'll be basically it. I've got CS1 down at my feet, and it's set to momentary. So if you look over here, CS1, momentary. When I press and hold this switch, it updates, and then when I release it, it goes back. So we can kind of get this very active modulation thing happening. And that can be really nice and gratifying to play, and it's very expressive. You could also do the same thing on an expression pedal. Let's pop on down to the pitch block, and I'm going to be doing a detune effect. It sounds kind of like chorus, but it's actually going to be a detune and almost kind of like a double tracking sort of effect. I'm going to take one side. This is just on dual detune, stock settings. I'm going to detune one side roughly around like 10 cents, and then the other side roughly around 10 cents, a little on either side. We're going to hard pan one voice, hard pan the opposite voice on the opposite side, and the double tracking effect of this happens with the delay. So I'm just going to delay each voice a little bit here. Again, I'm going for like around 10 milliseconds or so. And with the mix at 25%, I get this. And it's a little bit quiet. Sometimes that happens, so let's just boost that by 3, bring the mix up a little bit. And that sounds really nice. That might be just a little bit much, but yeah, I could play that all day. That's a really nice sound. This is like a very controllable chorus sound. Let's go ahead and talk about delay. I'm going to select this, and I'm probably just going to leave this at digital mono and just do a little bit of work on it. Chorus and delay, at least like the electrical components, are really pretty similar, so we can get kind of a unique chorus happening with a delay block. I am going to put this roughly like right around 29 milliseconds, so something really short. I'm also going to use right post delay and delay at about 10 milliseconds. It's going to throw our sound out to the side. We're going to bring the mix up a little bit, and then I'm going to go down to our modulation section, and I'm just going to throw a whole bunch of modulation on it. Let's wind the depth up on all of these guys and this guy, and I'm just going to do some random stuff here. Let's do a triangle. Let's leave this one a sine wave, and how about a saw in an upward fashion? Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, that sounds really cool. That's a really great effect. If it gets a little bit too much, you can also dial this feedback back a little bit so those repeats aren't repeating as much. And maybe just dial the mix back a little bit as well. Yeah, that sounds really nice. While I have CS1, let's do something pretty unique. I'm going to pop a glitch effect on here. So I'm going to leave this at around 29 milliseconds. I really wish I could type in exactly what I want there, but alas, I can't. Now, you really want to be careful with this, otherwise it'll just be really weird. So I'm going to go from like 29 to roughly 200. Let's see what that sounds like. And again, CS1 is momentary. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play, and it's too fast right now, so we need to kind of slow it down so it does this warbly sort of effect. Let's slow this up a little bit, and probably around 300-ish, something like that. We don't want it too fast, but we also don't want it too slow. If you're into like, noise rock or ambient sort of stuff, that can be kind of a cool thing. You could also really slow this down if you wanted to and get this. That can be fun. That can be fun there. Let's go ahead and swap over to the multi-tap delay, one of my favorite effects of all time in the Fractal ecosystem. I'm going to select the quad tape delay. So we're effectively going to be making a quad tape chorus, which sounds awesome. I am going to get rid of all of these time-aligned delays. And now, again, very short things happening here. I'm going to kind of spread these out a little bit too. So let's do one like around 14, one around 50, one around 8, or 4.5, sure, why not? And then something around like 20, 30-ish, something like that. I generally don't want to go over 50 milliseconds here. This should work pretty well. We are also going to go to our mix and filter, and we just want to make sure that these are kind of spread around our stereo field a little bit. So I've got one soft panned on either side, and then the other two are hard panned on either side. And here's where the magic happens. I'm going to modulate the motor speed. Let's put this over on LFO 1. And I really want to slow this up. Or I guess what I should say is I don't really want this to be super drastic. If it is super drastic, this is what it sounds like. It's super crazy. You could do that if you like that tone. I'm going to be a little more subtle with it. Something kind of like this. Yeah, and that sounds nice there. This is a really kind of rich sounding chorus that also doesn't sound like your typical chorus in a box sort of pedal. Let's go ahead and just hear these back to back. Here is our Rotary. Delay. Multi-tap. Pitch. And that's how you can get some really great sounding chorus substitutes. Real quick before we end, if you did find this video helpful and you want to get even more out of your Axe-FX3 FM9 or FM3, then you should definitely check out my Fractal Quick Starter. This is a 100% free 45-minute dedicated training to help you get the most out of your Fractal gear. You can check it out at matthewdale.com/quickstarter. That's going to be about it for me today. I'm going to play you all out with the multi-tape, since that one's probably my favorite out of all of these, and I will see you next time.